productivity, winning strategies, and aligning employer-employee goals. If this sounds like something your business could use more of, then you've come to the right place. The Business Mechanic Show with your host, Vaughn Sigmund. Let Vaughn show you how to develop, improve, and jumpstart your business. So now, please welcome the host of The Business Mechanic, Vaughn Sigmund.
Welcome to the Business Mechanic Show. I'm your host, Vaughn Sigmund, co-founder of Results-Driven Leadership, here to give you some real-world advice to help drive your business to new heights. Today, we're going to be shifting gears to tackle a subject that is often a stumbling block for many leaders: giving difficult feedback. Now, we all know feedback is crucial to any business. It helps us learn, grow, achieve success. However, it's not always easy to deliver, especially when it's challenging or uncomfortable. So in this episode, we'll be taking a deep dive into this topic, exploring why feedback, including the tough kind, is a key component in your leadership toolbox. We'll talk about overcoming fears, overcoming your hesitations that all come with delivering difficult feedback, and learn how to deliver it in a way that promotes growth and positive change. We're going to draw from real-world experiences that I've developed over 40 years, some hard-hitting research. When hard-hitting is going to hit you right in the head with the reality of what not giving feedback means to you, your team, your organization. And conversely, some real-world experience and hard-hitting research on the positive side of you getting over your fear and delivering developmental feedback even when you don't want to, even when it's uncomfortable. So whether you're a seasoned leader or just stepping into a managerial role, there's going to be something for you in this conversation. So strap in and get ready to tune up your feedback skills as we dive into another insightful episode of the Business Mechanic Show. So let's get started. Providing constructive, let's call it constructive feedback, because that's what it is. It's a critical aspect of effective leadership. And I talk about this in a lot of podcast webinars, speaking events, and certainly in coaching and training sessions. People have to know where they stand. They have to know what's expected of them. They need to know where they stand with you. They need to know what they're doing well. More importantly, these people show up for work every day to do a better job, and they're going to do that better job for you. People don't work for companies. They work for you, their manager, their leader. However, many managers, they shy away from giving difficult feedback due to some various fears and assumptions. And this can be very detrimental to both the team, and that's what I'm most worried about, and the organization's overall growth. So in the podcast today, we'll explore the reasons behind the fear of giving feedback, as I've found over years and years of studying this. I'll share some of my personal experiences. I too had to get over it. It's a learned leadership skill. You have to practice it. You have to get comfortable with it, but we've got to get you past that first wall. And today's podcast is to make a hole in that wall and get you through that and see some light. Understand the value of you being brave and bold and honest and direct in an empathetic and encouraging way, and provide some practical strategies to help you, business owners, managers, overcome this challenge. Let's start with understanding the impact of a lack of feedback. Because if you're not giving it, if you have hesitancy, if you avoid it, if you procrastinate on it, here's the impact. It has a very defined impact on your team and your organization, because a lack of constructive feedback And these negative consequences, without proper guidance, without mentorship, employees are deprived of valuable growth opportunities. There is not a single employee that works anywhere unless they're a psychopath. As I've said many times, it gets up and want to come do a lousy job. They want to do a crappy job every day. No, they want to come to work and do the best job they can. They thrive when they know they're doing the best job they can. But if you withhold this information from them, how can they possibly have confidence and trust, feel like they're growing and learning? If you're depriving them of what they're not doing well, they want to do well. You've got to give them that fuel of how to do better. Don't block them out. And let me tell you, workplaces with poor communication, and I see them very often. Workplaces with poor communication and unclear expectations are breeding grounds for low trust and certainly disengagement. As a manager, it's essential to recognize the significance of giving feedback and fostering a productive and thriving work environment. Being apathetic, that's what I'm looking for. Jesus, did you hear that? Apathetic, because employees without a clear understanding of their performance, all kinds of bad things happen that you are in control of, but you don't realize you're controlling it, because they're going to develop insecurities, which this inhibits their confidence, as I mentioned earlier, and it's going to reduce their overall productivity. It's going to reduce their motivation. If you don't care, they're not really going to care. They're going to create some perceptions in their self. If in the absence of information, they may be doing a lousy job, but without you telling them so, in their mind, their self-esteem is going to tell them they're doing a good job. No news is good news. Conversely, somebody who's doing a great job for you, if they don't hear that on a regular basis, you're not challenging to grow. They're going to create their own perceptions too. This person doesn't care. I'm not valued around here. Think about all that. That's what's happening in their minds, and many other things. They may begin to question their own competency. Am I really any good? Am I valuable to the organization? And that just wrecks morale. And without feedback, employees miss out on vital learning opportunities that guide their development and improve their skills. Please don't ever lose the fact that their results, their ability, their skills, all those are a reflection of you. The more you put into them, the more you're going to get out of them. And the more you get out of them as a leader, that's the difference between a manager and a leader. A manager tells, a leader drives them to want to do it. And this is the kind of fuel you put into your team that gets them to want to do it for you, because you care about them. This is the greatest, most effective way to show you care. You care about their development and improving their skills. They can go home every day feeling like they did a good job. But a lack of feedback essentially leaves your employee in the dark about their progress, which is impeding their personal growth and the overall evolution of the team. And they don't feel like they're advancing. And who wants to work in a job, including you, that I'm not valued, I'm not advancing, nobody really cares about me, nobody's giving me any feedback? Who wants to work in that? Put yourself in those shoes. And listen, very often as managers, I've got to be honest, you're not getting a lot of feedback. I get it. That doesn't mean you should avoid giving feedback to your people. Be a leader. Step out there, get over it, and start giving them the feedback, because it plays a critical role in building trust in you, trust in the company, and cohesion within the team. Cohesion amongst themselves and cohesion with you. They're a reflection of you. But when managers withhold feedback, it just creates a disconnect between them their team members. And this leads to decreased trust and stifled collaboration. Nobody cares about me. A lack of feedback also can create an environment where assumptions and misunderstandings. So many managers complain about gossip. They're just gossiping all the time. Well, let me tell you, the managers that don't complain about gossiping all the time are the ones that are giving regular feedback. Promise you. Because this environment that gets created where assumptions and misunderstandings flourish, that's what they're gossiping about. That's the nutrients that go into creating gossip, is misunderstandings. Control the narrative. Because without controlling the narrative, letting people know where they stand, what you expect, being very clear about how they're performing, this leads to potential conflict or discord within the team, and certainly between you and the team. And the more you wait, the harder the conversation's going to be. So you put it off longer and longer, which has a whole cascade of negative consequences. And always remember, your folks are going to feel undervalued, overlooked, which leads to decreased job satisfaction. Also, higher employee turnover. On the other hand, it's widely studied, and I'm going to talk about some of those studies in a minute. Companies who have a culture of leaders and managers within their organization that have a structure of consistent and constructive feedback, constructive meaning developmental, some might call it negative, but it's not, it's constructive. That fosters an environment of continuous improvement, of continuous learning. I'm learning and growing. That's where I want to stay and work hard for somebody. Feedback acts as like a beacon, guiding employees towards achieving their potential. It aligns their efforts with your team's objectives, with your company's objectives. They feel like they're part of something, that they're achieving something. That gets their hearts and their minds and their souls into it. It enhances the transparency and mutual understanding within the team, which that in turn strengthens interpersonal relationships and promotes a more harmonious work environment. It sounds so simple, and it is. The hard part is getting over the fear of giving developmental feedback. And I know there's a great deal of managers, which again, I'm going to get into statistics that prove this. This lack of feedback is significant, it's far-reaching, and it underscores the importance of open and honest communication and maintaining a healthy and thriving workplace. So let me talk about some of the tips I want to give you today. Tip 1, you need to challenge binary thinking. See, managers often avoid giving feedback because they believe certain assumptions. It's self-limiting mindsets, such as that's what causes this is, I don't want to sound like a micromanager. Nobody likes a micromanager. Or bringing up every little issue, that's going to ruin our working relationship. Or bringing up any issue is going to ruin our working relationship. They're not going to like me. They don't need to like you. That's a bonus. They need to respect you. This is how you earn respect. It is. And it's important to challenge such binary thinking and recognize that feedback is not about micromanaging, but it's about providing guidance and support, showing care and trust to the individuals on your team. This binary thinking viewing situations, people, or concepts in black and white, all or nothing, will absolutely hinder your effectiveness as a leader. The fear of becoming a micromanager or damaging relationships, which is honestly the two most common holdbacks that managers have for giving developmental feedback, constructive feedback. They're just fooling themselves. And it stems from oversimplified perspective. And you're wrong. These assumptions can be harmful. They're harmful. You think it's going to be harmful to give the feedback. It's actually harmful not to give the feedback because you're preventing your team from growing. There's no pill I can give you to get over this fear. There's no magic formula. You've got to get over yourself. Sorry, that's the way it is. And the key to understanding that feedback is crucial for facilitating communication and creating a productive environment is not thinking about stringent control or constant scrutiny, but about offering valuable insights to improvement, to promote individual and collective, your team's development. The reality is very nuanced, but constructive criticism isn't a personal attack. Rather, it's a way to help employees identify their areas of improvement, which they all want to do. Don't rob them of that. They want to achieve goals. They want to do a better job. They want to feel like they're needed and growing. Similarly, positive feedback. I don't want to leave that out because there's a lot of managers who fear giving positive feedback because it's going to go to their head. They're going to think they're better than they are. Shame on you. That's just silly. I'm sorry. It's just silly. And these that think that going around giving empty praise, they're going to like me. They're really going to respect me for that. No, that's not how it works. It's got to be real praise about real accomplishments. So challenge this way of thinking to be more open and you more vulnerable. And it's going to feel unsafe for a while, but it'll create safety in the long run. So next tip. Tip number 2. You must view feedback as a tool. And contrary to popular belief, your team craves meaningful and candid feedback. I said candid feedback. I did. They crave it. Numerous studies have shown that employees value managers, read into that, respect managers, stay with managers, want managers, need managers who provide critical feedback because they want to advance their career. Almost everybody wants to do a good job. Help them. However, very often, there's a disconnect between employees' importance on feedback and their perception of their manager's ability to provide it. And when I say constant, this may be daily, it may be weekly, but it's not monthly, it's not annually, it's certainly not never. So you must understand the significance of honest feedback and its positive impact on employee engagement. And if you as a manager can overcome your fear and just start delivering more and more constructive feedback, this is going to strengthen your team. It's also going to strengthen you. Feedback's not just a method of communication, but a valuable tool for growth. They crave it. They want it. Research has repeatedly shown that employees appreciate managers who are able to offer meaningful critiques and guidance. The ability to provide constructive feedback is an essential leadership skill. I'm doing a webinar in a week or two that talks about how to move from a manager to a leader. I've got a podcast. It's my most popular podcast, tens of thousands of downloads. You want to get better. This is how you can get better. I'm telling you, you do this one thing, it is such a game changer. Start providing regular, constructive feedback. It is the essential leadership skill that's going to enhance the respect they have for you, their satisfaction, their engagement, which all trickles down to overall productive work environment. Unfortunately, this common discrepancy exists between employees' importance on feedback, how employees place importance on feedback, and their perception of their manager's competencies in providing it. It's a huge gap between managers' reluctance to deliver feedback due to this fear. And remember, fear can be an acronym. False expectations appearing real. False expectations appearing real. Fear. They fear negative reactions or causing discomfort. They think somebody's going to blow up and walk out of there. They're going to quit. They're not going to like you. That like thing comes into a lot of people's minds. But to bridge this disconnect, it's absolutely mandatory, crucial for managers to recognize the positive influence that honest, constructive feedback will have on their team. And by doing so regularly, it's going to it's going to alleviate your apprehensions and you prioritizing giving regular feedback sessions at least once every 7 days. So view it as a tool. And it's going to require a shift in your perceptive approach to things. You got to move past this fear and understand the pivotal role feedback plays. I'm feeding a lot of information to you. I'm trying to encourage you. But it's the catalyst for your personal growth. It's the catalyst to your professional growth. As I often said in my podcast, and approaching 200 of these now, and I probably said in at least 100 of them, I ask two questions in every single interview. Who's the best boss you ever had? Who's the worst boss you ever had? And it is so common. Most of the time, the best boss they ever had is somebody who took them under their wing, developed them, told them what they were doing well, what they weren't doing well, gave them constructive feedback, mentored them, held them accountable. That's how they grew. They had respect for this person because this person took the time to help them. And on the other hand, conversely was the word I was poorly grasping for. Conversely, on the other hand, which is redundant, boy, I'm doing a great job today. The worst boss they ever had, one that never paid any attention to them, never talked much to them, just barked orders all the time, never let them know what the goals were, didn't know where they stood, lack of communication. Very common. Which one are you? Which one can you become? You can all become this great manager. You can become everybody's favorite boss if you'll adopt this one thing. Get over the fear and start providing effective feedback. Because the lack of this feedback It's studied, it's proven, it's statistically proven that a lack of feedback decreases employee engagement. It decreases their ability to like you. It decreases employees' ability to respect you. It decreases productivity. It decreases trust. So you protecting yourself from an uncomfortable conversation, that's the impact. I know you're doing that inadvertently. You don't mean to do it. You're just protecting your self-esteem. It's a human need. But according to Gallup, who you all hear me state their findings often, in their latest State of the Global Workplace report, only 13, this is the reality of it. This is millions of employees were surveyed by Gallup. 13% of the employees worldwide are engaged. 13% are engaged. That's horrible. What does that say about our leadership? What does that say about our workplace leadership? 13% who they're working for. It's pretty sad, y'all. And you know why they're disengaged? Widely reported the lack of regular and constructive feedback. Employees receive little or no feedback. And where they're receiving zero feedback, is that you? I hope not. Engagement drops to 4%. Let that sink in. If you're protecting yourself from these difficult conversations and some unrealistic fear, only 4% of employees are engaged and want to do a good job for you. Wow. However, on the other hand, engagement increases significantly when they're receiving regular feedback, up to 6 times more, according to this same study. 6x more when they're receiving regular feedback, and regular feedback is defined at least every 7 days. Wow. Another survey, if you don't want to believe just the Gallup one, another survey company, Clear Company, revealed that 105% of high growth organizations, those are out there kicking ass, taking names, growing like crazy, stomping on their competition. It's all about the regular feedback. They all are giving regular feedback to their team members, and they report. It's a big part of their success. And they all have regular monthly individual performance reviews, and all leads to their organization's success. Same study with Gallup. All those employees said we could be more productive, we could do a better job if they knew that what they were doing was right or wrong. That's the gap. 75% of the employees, and I can't imagine that doesn't fall somewhere. If you're listening to this podcast, you're listening to it to be a better leader. 75% of your employees are likely feeling that they could do a better job if you just tell them how to, what they're doing wrong, what they could do better. That's the gap. That's how you become a results-driven leader. It's the cornerstone of a successful team. And it's all either created or restricted by a lack of feedback. Another study by Interact Studio found that 69% of managers often are uncomfortable communicating with employees. And as a result, they avoid giving feedback. 69%. I've seen studies that reflect a similar number over and over again, which leads to a lack of trust, a lack of belonging, a lack of respect. Conversely, I got it right this time. Conversely, according to a Harvard Business Review study, pretty good source, teams that have a high level of trust with their managers have a 76% engagement rate. Remember, 4% no feedback, 76% engaged with feedback. Whoa, what a swing. Think about the drop in low trust environments. Think about the gains in high trust environments. What builds the trust? Developmental feedback, constructive feedback. So that has got to be a priority for you. It's got to be a priority for your organization if you're a business owner. I think it's one of our very best training modules. It's performance management that works. It's got all the tools. It's got all the training. It's video training. You can hear exactly how it's supposed to go. It's a game changer. Learn how to do it. It's just not something you're going to learn right away. It takes a lot of practice. But again, the fear comes from anticipating eventualities, fear of the unknown, or pre-predicting, is that even a word? Negative reactions. Holds many managers back. It's a natural worry that somebody's going to get mad at you or blow up. And I got to tell you, it's just not the case. As a leader, I've had, I don't know, it's easily in the hundreds. I think you talk to anybody that in the past worked with me, I'm a straight shooter. They always knew where they stood, but I didn't get born that way. I had to learn how to do it. And as I learned to do it, I got better and better at it. I got more and more confident in doing so. Because I knew, back to another previous podcast I did on my buddy Ted, no matter what business, we're in the people business, and giving regular feedback and investing in your people, you're going to grow. Your success is going to grow. They're going to grow. And it's not about confrontation. It's never about confrontation. In my experience, I found that this anticipation of a negative repercussion from delivering tough feedback, challenging feedback, is largely unfounded. I can count on one hand how many times it went wrong in 40 years, and I gave a lot of it. I didn't hold back praise, and I did not hold back criticism, because without that criticism, I knew nobody was going to grow. And I knew they were a reflection of me. I wanted them to grow because that reflected very well on me. And in turn, my employer was more successful. And the few times, and it's easily less than 5, that these conversations went wrong, it was because I had not been given regular feedback. Where it comes from. So let me help you too. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. You'll read my book, A Roadmap to Difficult Conversations. In order for you to be able to take that roadmap and apply it, you need to get over this fear of difficult conversations. You got to go actually have the conversations. But the roadmap to difficult conversations will give you the mindsets, the thoughts, and the architecture of how to structure these conversations. Go to Amazon, get the book, the link, and it's free. It's free. Go download the book. It's an easy read. Go check it out. A Roadmap to Difficult Conversations. Click on the link. Go get it for yourself. And then keep this podcast in mind. That I've just got to get over myself. I've got to test myself. I've got to be uncomfortable, making other people uncomfortable sometimes. And it cannot be sporadic. It's got to become a regular ritual. It's a habitual practice that great leaders possess. Because if you're doing this regularly, you're putting out less fires. Minor issues don't occur anymore. Without a bunch of minor issues, they don't escalate to major issues. I'm all about fire prevention versus fire fighting. This is fire prevention. Regular constructive feedback. So let's bring this home. As a manager, to become an effective leader, overcoming your fear of giving difficult feedback is one of the most essential steps that you have to take in order to grow and thus your team grow. You're here to get better at your job. You're listening to this to get better at your job. Work on this. Remember all these things, all these downsides of a lack of feedback. Challenging your binary thinking. Viewing and embracing feedback as a tool for development to help you and your team become more confident. Become an effective, regular feedback giver. Don't anticipate eventualities. Start strong. Read my book. Know how to do it. And make feedback a regular part of your managerial process. It's going to help you navigate challenging conversations. It'll help you with your empathy. And the byproduct of all that is improved team performance, which is putting you in a great position for your own personal growth. Giving regular feedback is a sign of great leadership. Embrace it. Embrace the challenge. Seize the power that comes with this, the positivities that come from this, and help your team reach their full potential. Thus, your full potential. So thanks for listening today. As always, appreciate all the listeners we have. Please, if this was helpful, you found this helpful to you today, share it, like it, give me a positive review on it. That helps others find this show. Much appreciated. And if you want any information about all the programs we have at Results Driven Leadership, visit our website, rdltraining.com, Romeo Delta Lima training.com. Follow me on LinkedIn, posting every day, y'all. So keep up the great work you're all doing in your personal development. Thank you so much for listening, and keep up the good work that you're doing of working on yourself. Talk to you next week.